Class 12, we are going to start with a new topic of economics, that is supply. There is the chapter supply, and in this video I will be discussing what is supply function and law of supply. Now from the knowledge of class 11 you already know what is quantity supplied. Now you all know that there is a particular price prevailing in the market for a certain commodity. So suppose the commodity is A. So price is, suppose we don't know, suppose there is a certain price and this is commodity A. Now producers, according to the price, they will supply the product A in the market. So we are going to study the quantity supplied of the product A at a certain given price. So when the price is rupees 10, what is the quantity that the producers are willing to supply in the market of this product A? Suppose 5 units. Suppose the price increases and becomes 15. So more the price, more will be the profit for the producers to sell it then. So the quantity supplied of A, or the willingness of the producers to supply A in the market, will increase. So instead of 5, now they will supply 10 units. Suppose the price again increases by 5 and it becomes 20. So when the price is rupees 20, there is more profit from selling A. So producers will supply, their willingness to supply quantity of A will increase, and suppose it becomes 15. So from here you can get one thing very clear, that when prices increase, then the producer's willingness to supply in the market also increases. Okay, so price and supply are directly related. What do you mean by direct relation? If price increases, then quantity supplied will also increase in the market. And if price decreases, then quantity supplied or willingness to supply the quantity of a certain product will decrease. So price and quantity supplied are directly related. You will see that the arrows will go in the same direction. Directly related means when price is increasing, supply is also increasing. When price decreases, quantity supplied also decreases. Now from here you might have understood one thing again, that how much quantity that the producers are willing to supply in the market, that is bring from their stock of production to the market. Okay, there is a difference between stock and supply. Stock means whatever is produced by the producer. Suppose 100 units of A is produced. But will they be willing to sell 100 units? No, because according to the price they determine the supply. If the price is less, they will be maintaining stock and bringing less in the market to sell the commodities. Supply means how much they are willing out of the stock of 100 units. Whatever is the price, on that depends how much they are willing to sell in the market. That is only known as market supply. Suppose out of the stock of 100 units, only at the prevailing price they are willing to supply in the market 50 units, and the rest 50 they will maintain the stock. When the price will increase, they will be running down the stock for sale. So stock and supply, or production of the producer and supply, are different concepts. And supply depends on what? It depends on price. If the price increases, the producers feel that there is a chance of increasing their profit margin, so they will supply more quantity, and if the price decreases, they will be supplying less quantity. Now from here we understood that quantity supplied, or how much the producers are willing to supply in the market, depends on price. So there is a dependency relationship. We call that relationship functional relationship. That is, quantity supplied depends on price, or we can say in mathematical notation, quantity supplied is equal to function of price, or it is written simply QS is equal to FP. Now what does it mean? Quantity supplied is depending on price. How much quantity will be supplied in the market depends on the price level. But on the contrary, price doesn't depend on the quantity supplied. Price is fixed by the market forces, but at that prevailing price, how much quantity the producer is willing to supply depends. So this is the dependent variable. Why we call it variable? Because quantity supplied in the market is not fixed. When the price changes, the quantity supplied also changes. So that is why it is known as variable. Dependent, why? Because it has a connection or relation with price. It depends on the market price prevailing, on which it is decided how much quantity will be supplied. And what is price? It is independent variable because it does not depend on the quantity supplied. Now for example, how will you understand this relation, functional relation? I am making it more clear. Suppose y is equal to 3x. You all have done algebra sums like this. There is an equation provided y equal to 3x. So y is also a variable, x is also a variable. Now how will you find the value of y? If you know the value of x, then you multiply with 3 and find the value of y. So y is dependent variable because finding the value of y depends on whether you know the x value or not. But x is independent. That means x doesn't depend on value of y. The equation tells us that if we know the value of x and place in the equation, suppose x is equal to 1, it doesn't depend on y. But knowing x, we can find the value of y. That means 3 into 1, which is equal to 3. So y depends on the value of x, so it is the dependent variable, whereas x is independent. So how we will present this? In a functional relation, y is depending on x means y is a function of x. Similarly, quantity supplied depends on price level. So quantity supplied is a function of price. So we are done with function, supply function. Now we are coming to the next concept, that is law of supply. What is law of supply? Law of supply shows the direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Now just before this only, I have already said that when price increases, the producers are more interested to sell the commodity then, so they will bring to the market from their stock and they will increase their supply in the market. But if the price falls, that means if the price was 10 and it becomes rupees 5. So earlier the producers are getting 10 for that product, now they are getting 5. So their profit margin is cutting down, and that's why they will not be willing to, they will not find any incentive to sell the commodity then. So they will be storing the commodity as stock and they will be willing to supply less in the market. So from here you can understand that price and quantity supplied have direct relation because the arrows are moving in the same direction. When P increases, quantity supplied increases. When P decreases, quantity supplied decreases. So this is known as the direct relationship between price and supply, and this is only given by the law of supply. So law of supply tells that price of a commodity and its quantity supplied always have a direct relation. That is, when price increases, quantity supplied increases, and when price decreases, quantity supplied in the market decreases. Now, there are two reasons that why this happens. When price goes up, why quantity supplied increases. So if I draw this graph, how the supply curve looks like. In the vertical axis, if we measure the price, and here we are measuring the quantity supplied. Suppose price is 5, 10, 15, we are increasing it by 5. Suppose the quantity supplied is, this is the way you just plot the graph. So when price is less, 5 rupees, the suppliers will be willing to sell the lowest quantity possible. So they are selling 10 units. And if you plot the point, you get this point. When the price is 10, quantity supplied will be more because the price is increased. So producers can get profit, so they will increase their supply from 10 to 20 units. So if I plot this graph, plotting this point, so from the law of supply, this supply curve drawing depends on the law of supply. From the law we know when P increases, quantity supplied increases. So here when the price goes up, the supply quantity goes up. So we have achieved 4 points, and if we join the points, we get the supply curve. I am naming it S dash. So supply curve, how it looks like? It looks like an upward rising curve. Okay. So the drawing of the supply curve has been achieved from the law of supply. Law states that with price and supply are directly related. So when price increases, supply also increases. And we are plotting the points, individual points, and if we join the points, the locus of all these points, the joining line of all these points, the line that touches all these points is known as the supply curve. And how it looks like? It looks like upward rising, just opposite of the demand curve. You all know that when price increases, we consumers feel the burden of payment of price, and our quantity demanded of the commodity decreases. So price and quantity demanded are not directly related, they are inversely related. So what you will see, that when price increases from 5 to 10, at rupees 5, suppose greater amount of quantity was demanded. And when price have increased, you are demanding less, so you are reducing the quantity demand from 15 to 10 units. When the price turns out 15, it increases, so you are now demanding less and less of it, so you are now demanding only 5 units. So whatever points we have plotted, if I join this, we get the demand curve, which is downward sloping demand curve. So law of demand shows the inverse relation between price and demand, and from this law, if we plot the demand curve, it is downward sloping. So from the law, it helps us to show the nature of the curve, what is the shape of the curve. So from here also, the law tells us that they are directly related, and price and quantity are directly related. If we plot the points and draw the line, we get the supply curve. It hints at the shape of the supply curve, which is upward rising. Now there is a question that always will the supply curve will be upward rising. So the answer is, if the law is followed, then the supply curve is always upward rising. There is no doubt in it. But there are situations, we call it exceptions to law of supply. That means there are certain exceptional cases where you will see that the law doesn't follow. Law doesn't follow means price and supply might not be having a direct relation. That is, with increasing price, quantity supply may not increase. With decreasing price, quantity supply may not decrease. So that type of phenomena are captured under exceptions of law of supply.